Welcome to the 76th episode of Dragon Quest Slime Time, a Dragon's Den podcast. This is Platty Liam 3.
And this is Liam Land. So what's new? I've been getting a lot of Switch time in. I happened to restart my Treasures game recently, so I've been putting in a lot of time into that and going in and meticulously renaming all of the monsters that they got wrong. You know, like Smile instead of Rocket.
All their proper names that they gave them.
Yeah, I even took like some of the Dragon Quest X ones and like and Lucia's statue, and I renamed that. Well, it wasn't. It was something else entirely, and I renamed it. You know, for the good of humanity.
Well, I'm glad you've been using your time wisely.
Yep.
Summer's kind of slowed the pace here at Slime Time. We've only had that one emergency episode live from outside the hotel when I was in Connecticut or Virginia, the day that the Dragon Quest monster reveals happen. But we're looking to get back in the swing of things here as fall approaches. We should be having a preview coming out next month of the new die game, Infinity Strash, and then likely another one days after the launch with us all to share our impressions. It's pretty much been the standard operating procedure here around all new Dragon Quest releases.
We've had new Dragon Quest releases since we started this podcast.
Well, I mean, you just mentioned Treasures, and then we've had, the.
There was mobile games.
Oh, blah.
Yeah, well, Keshi Keshi's still fun.
Oh, yeah, but that didn't come in out in English, so it doesn't count. That's enough mobile talk.
Keshi Keshi doesn't have to be in English. It's a simple puzzle game. And speaking of Keshi Keshi, thanks for mentioning it, by the way. Keshi Keshi is having its first original story content event. The event features a new design for Terry, who seems to be sporting a Prince of Midenhall style cap with aviator goggles, and his sword hilt is also stylized like a killing machine, which is pretty interesting. So according to a rough translation, the event story takes place after Dragon Quest VI because it references his travels with Milieu and Hassan. And the description states that Terry's pursuing a town of machinists for clues to track down a strong killing machine, and he's chasing down the rumors because he seeks a strong opponent to fight. It's the first for Keshi Keshi that we're seeing original story content instead of a retelling of old Dragon Quest stories, so this will really be an interesting event. But anyway, I've nerd-jacked this conversation long enough.
Not too sure I want to dwell on the words nerd and jacked together in the same sentence, so I'm just going to end all this and say tonight we got a special guest with us. He's here to speak with us about his upcoming fan-made remake, remaster, enhanced edition.
Definitive edition.
Well, that's up for everyone else to decide. But tonight we have the artist formerly known as Link on the Den, but now everywhere known as NightFly. Welcome, NightFly.
Hey guys, hey Liam, Platty, thank you guys for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on Slime Time for the first time.
Yeah, great to have you on tonight. I know we've been trying to schedule it for almost 12 years now, so glad we could finally make this happen.
12 years? Man, is this podcast even that old? Well, maybe back to the first one. But anyway, who the heck works on something for 12 years? That's crazy talk. Nah, forget about that. Now that we passed the joking phase of our intro, we can actually get down to what's important, and that's getting to know NightFly, and then hearing about his new game that's coming out soon.
So how did you get into...
I'll let you...
Sure. How did you get into Dragon Quest?
Okay, so this is a little bit of a backstory here. So we were Game Boy kids growing up. Me and my brothers, we all had Game Boys, and we went to GameStop one day, and we know that we like, top-down games like Zelda and stuff like that, and the clerk recommends two games. He recommends a game called Lufia 3, The Legend Returns, and Dragon Warrior Monsters 2. So I picked that game up and fall in love with it that same night. I'm playing it for 3 or 4 hours and didn't make a dent in it. So woke up the next morning, started to get into that. So that was my first taste of Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior. But my first mainline game was a few years later with Dragon Quest VIII.
Oh, nice.
All right, yeah.
Monsters 2 is a good one to start with, too, because that's an excellent title. Did you play Kobe or Tara?
Oh, yes. I played Kobe's Journey. I didn't know about Terra's adventure. Is it?
Yep.
Until a little later, so I didn't know anything about the trading or anything like that. So
I think there's only slight variances between the two. Is that right, Patty?
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah,
scary.
it's like the Pokemon dual split stuff, you know. You'll find a little bit different monster here or there. There's no story difference at all.
Mm.
It's just, you know, maybe on this island you'll find the tree gel instead of a box slime or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, but you know, the story just replaced the names. That's why when they remade it, they didn't even bother. They did, what is it, Kobe and Tara's Marvelous
Oh yeah,
Key Adventure or something like that. Yeah, and they just gave you a little clicker at the beginning. Who do you want to play as?
Yeah, they changed a lot in that game, and I'm not gonna lie, it kind of turned me off a little bit, but I enjoyed playing it.
It's almost a different game. I mean,
Yeah,
mechanically a lot of the things
entirely.
work. Yep. So no, and like you, I think I've said this before. Like my favorite spin-off, up until a few years ago, and it could still be, depending on what day of the week you ask me, is those Game Boy 2, or not Game Boy 2, but Dragon Quest Monster 2 Game Boy games.
Yes, they're the best.
Yeah, they're the only ones I like. I feel like I've ever 100%ed a Dragon Quest game. That's it. I figured out filled out the DQ decks on that one, and maybe Dragon Quest 1, but there's no other game that I could think of that I could say like, yeah, 100%ed that.
Yeah, same.
All right, so you started with Dragon Quest Monsters 2. You got into the main line with 8. What do you consider your favorite game in the series?
Well, that's the same answer. Well, not the same answer, but I feel it is Dragon Quest VIII. It was the first game that I played where I felt like, oh, video games are art too. The music, the level 5 cel shaded visuals, the gameplay, everything just melded up really well, and it got me down the path that I eventually took in college and so forth. So just everything about 8 just makes me smile when I play it.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's fantastic. I'm actually playing that one right now with my kids, on the PS2 version, and we just got to the part where we get Angelo as a party member, and then my phone battery died, and then my battery died, and like replay the whole section again. But it's still it's such a fantastic game, and one I'm really glad to be playing with them right now.
Nice.
So do you have a favorite character in the series?
Actually, again, it comes from 8, and it's actually Angus.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that. Ricky Grover does such an amazing performance with the character.
Yes. He's just a really fun character. The side characters in 8 have or main party members have a lot of personality, so Angus is definitely a favorite for me.
Yeah, I mean, with the first game, with the voice acting and everything, that a lot of those characters are very memorable.
Yes,
Because I mean, I feel like they got the most dialogue. Yeah, I guess in 7 you probably had a lot of dialogue with different people, but I'll be I'm kind of someone who doesn't click on that story. What is it, the text?
The summary.
What's the extra text in the party chat? I don't click. I don't click on the party chat much. So Dragon Quest 8 got me the most.
Yeah, I think the personalities they pop a little bit more in that game.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. What kind of game mechanics do you really like in your Dragon Quest games? Do you like the casinos? Do you like the turn-based battles? What are you looking for when you sit down with a new DQ game? What do you really like to get?
So yeah, turn-based gaming today, it's seen as kind of like a taboo or whatever. A lot of people think it's boring or dry. And I can see that perspective a little bit, but for me, turn-based has always been about strategy and plotting your attack, your defend, your magic, and getting all that in the right order so you have a perfect turn. Or it may not end up perfect. It's RNG a lot. So. I just find that to be integral in Dragon Quest. So I know with 12, Yuji Hoari's talking about changing that up. I hope he doesn't change it up too much. But I think turn-based battles are essential to Dragon Quest. So I look for that.
Yeah.
And like you said, the fun aspects like casinos and the cards, the the slots. That stuff is just really fun. After going through the game, and you can relax and get items that you really shouldn't have. So I think that's fun as well.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, getting all that Metal King slime stuff. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I always hope that the turn-based RPGs go in the direction of Suikoden, that series, and how rapid fire the battles are. So you make your choices, and then it's just boom, 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 boom. The attacks one right after another. I always like the speed of that battle system,
Right.
and that retains the strategy aspect of it while speeding it up a little bit and making it interesting.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't have to sit there and read, Gabo
Yeah,
attacks
that's right.
for 12 damage.
Who turns
red slime
that
attacks for.
Yeah, who turns that battle message speed all the way down to read very
Oh my God.
Oh well, yeah. Oops, I did that on this game.
Oh, you did that accidentally?
Accidentally. I was like,
Okay.
I wonder what, like the default. I can't remember what you have the default set to. Is it just 0?
I think
I think
it's 2. I think because 0 just makes it.
Whatever it was. 0 goes fast though, right?
I cranked that up.
Yeah, 0 is supposed to be the fastest one.
Okay, so I think it was on 0, and then I was like, oh well, maybe 0 is really slow, so I'll do like 5.
Yeah. No, I get it. For English
I was reading, and I was
learners.
like, oh damn it.
Yeah, don't do that.
No,
I get the slower speed for English language learners, but for us native speakers, then I just crank that thing up all the way.
This is hour 4,000 of Dragon Quest for me. We can go a little faster here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite job class in Dragon Quest games?
I guess the early Dragon Quest jobs are relatively tame. I became more of a fan of the job classes in like 7 and 9. I would say Minstrel is a favorite of mine because I like having a character that can do multiple things, like a jack of all trades, master of none, like the Red Mage in Final Fantasy, or I just like characters that can do a lot of things, but aren't really necessarily good at all of them. But later on in the game, obviously you have to choose. So I would say like a Minstrel.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I like that well-rounded stuff, but also being able to stack your skill points in those base class, so that the stat boosts carry over from character change to character.
You're just a Dragon Quest 9 stan.
What's that?
Mine is good.
Mine is great.
Yes. All right. So, any games, Dragon Quest games that you haven't gotten around to playing that you would like to, just haven't had the time for it, or the system for it, or
I'm sure
the language for it?
Like most other Americans or Western people, it's 10. I just don't have the time to put in to get it to. I know there's patches now. There's guides for English, and I just don't have the time or the know-how to really get into it like I want to. I have played a little bit of the 10 offline demake on the Switch. It's pretty fun, but I would like to do the online aspect of it. So hopefully in the future, maybe not, Square comes to their senses and releases the 10 online over here. But that's the one I haven't played.
Yeah, we need Musk or Zuckerberg to become fans of Dragon Quest and suddenly just start spewing money at a project to get it going.
Hey, something. Need to get something.
It would have to cost like a fraction of the amount of changing your name from Twitter to X. Right?
At least, you hope.
Well, sir, should we change our name to X and spend $1 billion rebranding, or just throw about $10 million at translating Dragon Quest X? Let's do Dragon Quest X for the people. You can say Twitter a little longer. It's fine. No, I think I had this. I think it was about a month ago in our back channel Slime Time chat. I was saying to Brurian, and I want to say it was Twinkie too, another person we've had on quite a bit. I was like, dude, like somebody talked me out of this because I'm sitting reading all the documentation on like how to install Clarity and what would it take to get a Dragon Quest X subscription and whatnot. I was like, I can't do that. I've got 2 young kids. I can't sit at the computer for like hours at a time with an online game. Was it 3 years ago? Was it? Yeah, it was 2020 when I did it. I put in like 35 hours and beat version 1 on the Switch, basically using a couple people's online translation guides and whatever back then. But I did that in like 4 nights during the hard lockdown time.
Oh, wow.
Kids would be asleep. I'm like, it's 9 o'clock. I can play to 2 in the morning because what do I got to do tomorrow? Nothing. And I crammed all that knowledge and all that menu memorizing and playing it by glancing at my phone in the live Google Translate and everything. I crammed that into like 10 days and finished off version 1. I'm like, okay, this is good, but I can't keep doing this.
Yeah, right. I committed to getting the Switch version before all of that stuff came out. So at some point I will play it. I will sit down and kind of figure out the guide to getting the rest of the stuff unlocked. But I mean, I've got about 2 years before we've hit Dragon Quest X. We're on 8 right now with the kids. So next summer will be Dragon Quest 9 multiplayer. And then, if I have 2 years to learn Japanese.
You'll never recover from that, will you?
Yeah, I have 2 years to learn Japanese. Otherwise it'll be Google My Son translation. Or probably my daughter too, she'll be 4. She'll probably have a more advanced Japanese knowledge than me by that point as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But until then, I'll have 2 years of Duolingo under my belt.
Cool.
So if you could only play one Dragon Quest game for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Man, I'm sounding like a broken record right now. It's probably Monsters 2 again. The magic keys that you get that continuously generate the bonus worlds, and I probably did that for hundreds of hours when I was a kid. So just continually getting new magic keys when you go explore, and then bring them back and appraise them, and that was just fun. And I think it holds up today. I wish they would have been more faithful in the remake on the 3DS, but that's neither here nor there. But if I play 10, it will probably be 10 because the amount of content we have. The game has been going since 2012 in terms of content. So probably will be 10 if I played it. But yeah, for now, Monsters 2. I'm satisfied with that answer.
Yeah, you could definitely see how the key dungeons too played a role in influencing Dragon Quest IX's grotto system.
Right.
How we get something like that in Dragon Quest 12, or it almost looks like there's something coming out with the new Dragon Quest monster system that says something like that. One of the DLCs I thought, and I really haven't read up on Dragon Quest monsters that much. I mean, it's a game I know I'm going to get, so it's not like I read every word on it. The new one, but I know one of the DLCs is something to do with limited time. I don't think they use the word grottos or whatever.
Yeah,
but
I saw that, but I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be like. But maybe we got a few more months to check it out. So
yep, I did. What is it? Dragon Quest 7 when it came out for the 3DS had a little mode like that where you could put stuff together and get randomly generated stuff. But nothing.
The Street Pass shards, those things.
Yeah. But I mean, nothing has been as good as those keys and the grottos in 9. I would say, just for infinite gameplay loop.
Yep.
Those two definitely set the standard. All right, so if you could choose one Dragon Quest game that you've ever played to just get the axe and be erased from history, what game has pissed you off, or what game was like, no, just screw this? Would you cast aside a game?
I know people are gonna hate me for this one. I generally do not like Dragon Quest 7. It is a game that I like the atmosphere. I like the music. I like the characters. I like the world. I like the story towards the end. It's really good. But the one thing I detest in RPGs is backtracking, and Dragon Warrior 7 has to be the king of backtracking, and it just got really kind of stale to me. Around 70 hours in, I just had to. I gave up. It's the first Dragon Quest game where I gave up, and I might go back to it, but it's the first one where I kind of let it go.
Yeah, I
You know,
get
it's
that. I
fun.
mean, I gave up on the remake, but
Yeah, yeah.
I recently replayed the original, so for the first
Oh,
time in
okay.
like 20 years. But yeah, I get it. It's lengthy and it's a huge commitment. It's definitely mixed bag between
Mhm.
people either love it for the content or hate it for the content.
Right.
Yeah, you're either all in on that one or you're not because you're you're not whipping through it. So
Yeah,
And the
definitely.
thing is, the thing is, I know that that team put so much effort into that game. It started development around what 96 and didn't come out till 2001. So I know they put so much effort into it, creating all those scenarios and the balancing and the job system.
Hmm.
There's a good game here. It's just I gotta have something just a little more, enticing to go through the world and go get the shard, put it in, fix the issue, and then backtrack all through that again and get the shard and then rinse and
Yeah,
repeat. So
yeah.
all
Platty,
right.
do you have an answer to that same question? If you could axe one Dragon Quest game, there's only one that I can think of.
I was gonna say you're just gonna set me up for another Dragon Quest Six whack attack here.
Oh, is
oh
that it?
oh,
Yikes!
that's number two
Which
for me. That's
are you
number two.
talking? Are you talking DS version though, not SFC original?
I'd just erase it all. I'd get rid of the original, and then there would be no DS version either. So there you
Oh,
go.
jeez. All right.
It's like going back
I
in
think.
time. If you kill the kill the parent, the child's never born. There you go.
Yeah. I think
Oh
the only one
man.
that I can think of that I would truly axe is Kenshin Dragon Quest because they built it on such crappy tech that it was not meant to
Oh
last, and now
yeah.
you can't even
Yeah.
play it anyway. So what's the point?
Right. I forgot
Liam
about
got a
that.
copy, and he's salty that it didn't work.
I got two
Oh
copies.
no.
Yeah, I
Oh,
found them. I
sorry.
found two of them at second. I'm a two-time sucker. I got them at.
Oh,
I got them at those reseller stores in Japan, and neither of them worked. And then a couple other people complained online when I was complaining online that they didn't have working versions either. So I realized it was a downgrade. It was the tech just deteriorates over time. And I
Oh
think
wow.
Austin from Dragon Quest FM is the only one who I know who has a working copy. So I might have to interview him about that sometime and get some video footage of him playing it or something.
Yeah, because I've
yeah.
only seen like grainy footage of that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a grainier kind of version of Swords, but I'd still like to
Yeah,
play it
swords.
someday.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
if you could,
you just killed Dragon Quest Swords. Thanks a lot.
well,
Floret will never have been
and
created.
I think
Oh.
they still would have came up
Oh.
with that
Okay.
anyway. VR's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you could cosplay as any one Dragon Quest character, who would it be and why?
Again, it'd probably be Angus because I'm probably more closer to him, and take that what you will than any than any other character. So, I like his little hat, whatever that cheese hat thing he has on, and then
Mhm.
the fur poncho. Is that what he has on? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like weird, quirky designs of 8. So yeah, probably Angus.
Cool. If you do, you got to do the core blimey pose
Core Blind.
for a photo. For a photo.
Be up
Shock
on your
the
tippy
Angus.
toes.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that was good getting to know you, getting to know your Dragon Quest history, and you've got a very specific time in your life that came in, and that affects your games that you liked. There was a good time to be a Dragon Quest fan right around then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we made the joke about working 12 years on something in the intro, but you've put quite a bit of time and let me know if this is right. Your fan game that you're making, it's called Dragon Quest Plus, right?
Right. That's correct.
Okay, because I know like when the game file downloaded, you sent us the beta build.
Yeah,
Basically, it's got a long name.
It's called Remix Gold.
Yeah.
So that actually came from this site. So we'll get more into that later. But the remix made from this on the site on Woodus, it's called Dragon Warrior Remix. So I just wanted to do something a little more fleshed out. So I just code named it Gold Remix Gold. So
All right, so that's the development title, but yeah. So we've got NightFly here. He has basically remastered Dragon Quest, the original game, added a lot to it, cranked the graphics up to 11, while staying pixelated. But so I'll let you start at the beginning. When did you come up with this idea? Like, where did the idea for this come about?
So yeah, it all started when our family got our first family computer. So it's probably about 2010 or so. So it wasn't like an old computer, but it was pretty dated. But my brother and I we obviously loved RPGs, and when we finally went online to YouTube and saw people post things from RPG Maker, we were like, "Wait, you can make these? You can make these on a computer?" So I downloaded 2K3 2003 and played with that ever since. I've never used any other RPG Maker except for 2003. Fast forward about a year or two later. I find out about Dragon's Den, and there is as I mentioned, there's Dragon Warrior Remix on the site, made by, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
is it made by Woodis? Is it made by him?
No, is that Hawkeye's?
Hawkeye.
Yep.
Yes. So I downloaded that and played it, and was quite interested in doing something similar to that. So that's when it started around 2012. So yeah, so that's where it all started.
That is a game I still need to play. We've had Hawkeye on. Ironically, coincidentally, he's a huge Star Trek fan. He's actually changed a lot of his stuff online. He goes by, was it Star Wrecked or something now? And he sings parody Star Trek songs.
Okay.
So I think it was exactly about a year ago. We had him on a side quest, and we talked about the first season of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds when it ended last August, and had him on with Austin Erevar. And man, I don't know if Rurian made that one or not, but the three of us or four of us talked about Star Trek for a while, but then hit on his he did, what is it, Remix 1 and Remix 2, I believe.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh yeah, I still maintain the site that they're housed on, and circling back around. All right, so you said you started on this maybe around, what, 2011, 2012?
Yeah, 2011, 2012. Yeah, so quite a long time ago.
All right, so lots of then experiences you've had along the way with this game. What are some of the ups and downs you've kind of experienced over the past dozen years with this?
Yeah, so what some people may not know is that this game has basically had, I would say, 3 eras of this game. So the first era, I would say around 2012, 2013, just getting started, it used all of the the basic RPG Maker functions and the built-in actions and that sort of thing. So that version was not good, but I did get a lot of feedback from people on the site, rpgmaker.net. And from there, around I want to say 2016, I started to get a little better at utilizing the program. It's not like it's an actual coding program, but there are things that you can use that sort of mimic code, so sort of like pseudocode in a way. So around that time, started implementing, actual Dragon Quest, functionalities like the menu and the battle system that games on that engine don't really mimic. And it's for a reason, because it's Dragon Quest seems simple, but the work that goes on behind the scenes is quite difficult. So that implementing the menu systems and the inventory systems, I would say that was probably one of the more difficult things to do. Yeah, so in terms of ups, I wouldn't say the game has had many ups during development, because I guess I'm sort of a perfectionist in a way, so I don't often see my work as good until maybe like years down the line, where I'm like, I actually like this, and it's very rare for me to get to that point, but I think I'm there now. So I say the upsides are more, when this game is about to release finally.
Well, this is an uptime right now.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, I was reading through basically your development blog on the RPG Maker website, which we'll have the link down in our show notes. So anybody listening to this that's looking to get it, you can go there. You can read through development notes. You can find the game when it releases and whatnot. So we'll have that there. And I was just reading through the years. Like there was like a couple of years that you weren't posting, and a couple of years that you were more often and more people interacting. So it was cool. It was kind of like, oh, let me go back in time 12 years and see how this went. Liam, you want to go ahead?
So what versions of the names did you go with? Pre 2008 old localization, or why?
Okay, so this is a weird one, and I get criticism for it, but it's just how I like to do things. So the original translation was based off the NES version, of course. That's the one I knew. But a little bit later down the line, I changed it to the Japanese Famicom translation by SPSPIFF. I don't know his name, but he translated that version from Japanese to English. So I'm sorry if I butcher your name if you're listening to this. But
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Space Spiff from the old from the old NX forums.
Yeah. So I used that translation. I felt it was a little more direct and not as vague. So I decided to go with that one. And I'm sure some of you guys you guys noticed that some enemies have the names that they use today in Dragon Quest, and some have the names that they used in Dragon Warrior. So, for instance, like the chimeras, they're not called chimeras anymore. They're wyverns or wyverns. But I decided to stick with chimera because that's a monster that I used and grew up with in Monsters and Monsters 2. So there's a little mixture of localizations, but I hope that's not too big of an issue. If it is, I can fix that. But as of now, that's how it's gonna be.
No, something like that's it's funny because at the time that I was playing through it, and I still have yet to finish this, but over the past month and a half, I've been trying to post on the Den more again, and instead of just using Discord all the time, and I started using doing an A to Z with all the Dragon Quest monsters. I think it left off on P or Q right now. But monsters I've used in Dragon Quest monster games, not just like my favorite B monster name or my favorite C monster name, but like, okay, what monsters that began with the letter C have I used before? And kind of like you did, like you said, you're using the old translation, you're using the new translation sometimes depending on it. Well, to pick my favorite monsters with different letters, I would definitely pull from like, oh, well, I played this on, Dragon Warrior Monsters 2 on my Game Boy 2. So, I know he's called this now, but back then he began with a C and he was this.
Yeah.
Like the Chimera, like, oh man, I love playing when he was a Chimera back on this, or, that I'm definitely liberally choosing which ones because some letters are a little bit tougher to pick one from than the others. Not just going with like, oh, this monster's cool. It's like, man, do I have a memory of playing with any of these monsters, either in Joker 1, Joker 2, Joker 3, in the olden days, like somewhere. Caravan Heart even, like, my God, where am I pulling stuff from? So, like, yeah, all these names still float around in my head, at least as somebody who's been playing the game since, NES days. I still call them red slimes and, whatever instead of she slime.
They were red.
She slime.
The red slime that's orange.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that when it comes to localization stuff, you're never going to please everybody. So you kind of just have to go with what your gut instinct is on that. But I was pleased to see that you did keep Roto as the legendary hero.
Yeah, I was just, I know people grew up with Warrior 1. A lot of people play that, and it's Erdrick. That name just doesn't sit with me. So I just think that one is a little, it rolls off the tongue easier. It's simpler. So yeah, I like Roto.
I will say, and I didn't put this in my little notes ahead. We'll when we're done, if we haven't hit on some of these things, we'll go back to our notes that Liam and I took through playing about it. But I loved that you still had the "but thou must" in there somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to keep it, true to the Japanese version. I believe it's different in that one, but everybody knows, but thou must. So I had to keep that in there.
Mhm.
But you put it somewhere just slightly different, didn't you?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
yep. I won't spoil it, but yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't where I expected it to be. It's been a while since I played Dragon Warrior 1. I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't that supposed to say that there? And then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh, there it is, there it is. Okay, we're good. I got my but thou must moment. All right, so and you've answered me this messaging behind the scenes beforehand, but I set it down. Liam and I were chatting the other day, and I was like, "Oh man, I'll tell you what, I restarted this game probably 3 or 4 times the first night that I played it, and once or twice it was just me doing stupid stuff in the menu, and once it was me setting the game speed down, and I didn't get far enough to realize I could go into the game menu and change that game speed from the horribly slow level that I set it to. So I was like, I'm like 15 minutes into this. I can restart. Plus, that'll get. Every time doing the questionnaire at the beginning, I love the questionnaire that you put in the beginning, Dragon Quest III style. And I was like, maybe I'll see something else. And after, like, I kept seeing different scenarios. I don't know how many you have in there, but I went through at least 3 of them, and I did them a couple different ways each, and that was fun to do. But what do the difficulty levels affect? Because you have a difficulty slider that you can play on hard, play on normal, play on easy, or whatever.
Okay, so normal is normal, of course. Easy is a mode inspired by a lot of games today that like the Phantasy Star re-release on Sega Ages and whatever. They give you an easy mode. It doubles like experience and gold. So that's what easy mode does in this game. Okay. I know a lot of people don't have time to spend dozens of hours on grinding and whatnot. So I know a lot of people give people crap for choosing easy mode, but hey, if it's gonna help you, I'm gonna put it in the game. For hard mode, I'm actually still tweaking that as we speak. It's a little more difficult to implement a hard mode because you don't want other monsters to be to a point to where you just can't win. So balancing that is a little more difficult, but so those are the 3 modes in the game.
Yeah, just drop some blue and red dragons outside the opening castle. There's hard mode. Good luck.
Like the freaking Atlas on the first island in Joker 1.
Yeah,
Atlas walking around like walking through the field of slimes.
Yeah. So what was your favorite thing to add in Dragon Quest Plus that wasn't in the original Dragon Quest?
Okay, so the I don't know if anybody here has gotten this far, but you do get keys in this game similar to Dragon Warrior Monsters 2. So there is a world gate in this game, or the magic door, whatever you want to call it, and you insert keys and transport to different worlds. So that was something to pay homage to Monsters 2, of course. That's my favorite games of all time. So that was fun to do because it brought me back to a happy place, being able to create something similar to that. So implementing the keys and getting them in your inventory, that whole ordeal is just an exciting moment. So putting that in the game was probably my favorite thing. In addition to that, there is a Dragon Warrior Monsters 1 style key. So you'll insert that key and it'll generate a 10-floor dungeon with all sorts of different environments that occur on each floor. So that also was very fun to do.
Oh, now are these post game?
These are post game. So
okay, so that's why.
Yes, you will have to.
I'm close.
Yeah.
I'm in the castle. And so how is this one translated? Is he the Dragon King, not the Dragon Lord? Is that what it is?
Yes, it's the Dragon King in this one.
Okay.
Right.
I've reached his castle. I'm there. We just got to show down a little bit.
Well, good luck. well, you're on easy, so it shouldn't be that difficult. But on
I was
normal,
gonna say I've got like 20,000 gold sitting in my
yeah. Oh,
purse, and I'm like, man, I really need to go down there and spend it. And I'm like, do I buy the flame sword? Do I
buy the flame.
splurge on the? Do I splurge? Like, I think that's where I'm saved right now is down there in good old Gollum Town. I don't know what it's Cantlin in the original, but I don't know what you got it translated as.
It's Mercado.
Mercado. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did we have that in one of the translations, like Game Boy or something?
If not the Game Boy, then definitely the mobile version. I think is Mercado for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mobile, yeah.
I was gonna say that was one of the names that like popped out at me. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the original, but I've heard this. Like,
it's just Spanish for market, I think. So.
Yeah. All right. Any other fun things that you don't mind spoiling that you added? I tell you what. There was it's like Run a Maze thing that's right outside of the original town, and I think thank God I was on easy mode because I kept doing that damn thing over and over again. I'm like, oh my God, I only got 10 seconds, and I definitely spent way too much gold on that.
Yeah,
to begin with,
it was actually less time than that before.
Oh my gosh.
So, you would have, I think, 30 seconds, and the test, rightfully so, that some testers complained about that, and so I gave you a minute. So, I just don't want people to cheese stuff if they're on normal. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you're on easy, great, do you. I'm not gonna worry about that, but I want to give people some, sort of a challenge in mini games. So.
Oh man, maybe I didn't play it on easy then. Maybe that was when I was doing my normal, the hour that I did normal, and then was like, oh, maybe I gotta go back to easy.
Well, now that you have racked up all that gold, you can go back.
I was gonna say I've got like gold for days now, but no, I couldn't upgrade at one point because I was too busy. I think it's like 25 gold. I was spending like 25 gold a pop to play this game. Made me think that I was like running through corn mazes or whatever, and then there was like a button you could hit to randomize the way that it looked or something.
Yeah.
So yep, that was fun. I had fun doing that.
So what was something that you thought might be fun and easy to add that ended up taking a ton of time?
Oh, the monster animations. So this was a whole ordeal. So people, I don't think people realize or saw that this game did not have monster animations until about maybe 6 months ago. Oh
wow!
And yeah,
they're beautiful, by the way. They look really cool.
Yeah,
that was neat.
They are really nice. And so I found this plugin for RPG Maker that allows you to show images in a sequence like a traditional sprite sheet. So I said this would be interesting to put in here if I could get the monster animations from. It started off as 3, so I was going to say, let me get the monster animations from 3 and see if I can use them. I was thinking about replacing monsters entirely because there's no animations for monsters from 1 and 3. So I eventually ended up skipping that idea and using the monsters from the DS game. So that process was grueling to say the least, but as you can probably see online, there's not many places or any that I found that have these animations anywhere. So essentially I had to edit the DS ROM so that it changes the background color of the Big Book of Beasts. Edit that background color to just a plain black. So you go in, set a key for a screenshot, set a key for a next frame, and then you just screenshot it, next frame, screenshot it, next frame, and then make sure it loops.
Oh.
That process killed my wrist. It gave me control. So implementing that was probably the most difficult thing to do. I thought it would be a little quicker, but it ended up taking about maybe like an hour or two just to rip a monster and then do the shadows and then crop all the images and then compiling it into a sprite sheet. So I know that's a long answer, but it was a long process.
Oh, damn. I'm trying to think where I was living at the time. So it must have been 2003, 2004. I don't think the Dragon's Den had Dragon Quest V sprites yet, if I'm not mistaken. I should go in the den and look. But I I went through and I did with what is it, SNES X or whatever, with Z SNES or something at the time, where you could turn individual level, like you were saying, you went into the ROM and hacked it. Yeah, the layers, that was it. I remember turning layers off and doing screenshots on my PC back in like 2003, 2004. My girlfriend and I at the time, she was like doing medical rounds around the state. So I'd come home from school every day and be like, well, she's not going to be home for the next 2 weeks. So what can I do to keep myself busy? And I was like, I'll just go through Dragon Quest V and battle every monster and get sprite rips for Woodus over on the Den. I think that was probably my first contribution, other than just posting on the Den, was doing that. So, I mean, that was a long time ago, and actually played through the game, didn't have the Big Book of Beasts, but no, I only took one screenshot. I wasn't taking, all the different ones like you. So, and I didn't have to do any hacking. It was just hitting those numbers. But no, I feel your pain there. I did that 100 times over. And yeah, you did it multiple hundreds, I guess, with all those different.
Yeah,
I'll say it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it really animates really nicely, and I'm a big fan of that ever since 6 started animating the monsters. And how they looked in the 3 remake as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'll probably put those up for people to use in the future. So I might put them on the Den, or probably Spriter's Resource if people know about that site. So just hand them off, because I don't want anyone else to go through that process. So.
Oh, I'm on the Spriter's Resource right now. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess they're not here. I use that site all the time when I go to do perler bead stuff.
Oh, okay.
So whenever I'm looking for pixel art, that is
that's the place.
Other than just Googling, that's usually where I start. So nice. All right. Well, was there any? So that was a big wish, and you did it. Took forever. Anything that you just couldn't do, either limitations of the RPG Maker 2003, or you're like, oh my god, this will take me another year, add another year to the project, or just something that's like that's not really going to make a big difference and not be worth the effort I'm going to put into it. Something that you couldn't do.
So probably 2 things. One of them is actually related to the previous question about animation. So in Dragon Quest Plus, the monsters, except for one monster, only have idle animation. So the final.
Oh, you okay there, Liam?
Me?
So the final.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Good.
Okay. So the final boss has attack animations, but the rest of the monsters in the game only have idles. So, if I were to go back and implement attack animations, you're looking at probably about another 6 months to a year. And I just want to, yeah, it's time consuming. So I just want to move on from that. And it's been 12 years. I'm not going to extend it another year. I'm ready to get this out. So I forewent that and also the keys. So there are 3 bonus keys in the game that you get after beating the game. There were originally 9 planned, but yeah, that's not happening. So those 2 things to extend, playtime. That's something I'm always trying to do. Give people, a lot to do in a game, but there's a time where you gotta, move on and put things away. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, Liam, before we do your next question, because we're coming to the end of our questions, but you and I both played this game, and I played the beginning hour multiple times. Let's talk about some of the stuff that we saw that we really liked. Because we've already basically hit on what you said right at the beginning of your notes, that you love the sprites being animated.
Yeah, I mean, the Dragon Quest 3 and 6 F's of Super Famicom sprites give it a very familiar Super Nintendo DQ feel. I love the orchestral music and hearing the music from some of the later 3D style games like 7, 8 in 2D mode, which is fantastic. You go into the various villages and or even in the church, you'll hear the church theme that you'd find in 7 or 8. So that's all. And being able to change the music, the battle theme, is a lot of fun as well.
Oh, I was doing that about every 15 or 20 minutes. I was yeah. I was like, all right, I've been on Dragon Quest 2 for a while. Time to switch that of the menu up to Dragon Quest 3.
Yeah,
and switch that around.
Yeah, so when you're testing the game, like like I did for that long, that Dragon Warrior 1, Dragon Quest 1 battle theme really gets on your nerves. So I implemented that as a way to mitigate hearing that blah 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 blah. So yeah.
So, and I commented right at the beginning because, then again, I did the beginning like 6 or 7 times the first night I was playing. But I love that, like, Dragon Quest 3 is Super Nintendo like opening, and the questions that you had to get a personality there. And my favorite was like, do you believe in helping others even if you believe they're undeserving? Every time I'm like, fuck that, no, undeserving bastards. And that's the one that's repeated, right?
Yes, or
Yeah.
I believe it's do you believe in I forget. I made the game.
There's a question that's repeated.
Yeah.
There's a question that's repeated, and I remember messaging you. I'm like, did you mean for this message to be repeated? And you're like, oh yeah, you should see what happens if you answer it differently.
Yeah, so that's why I got called
and
a
you
liar.
Did, Liam?
Yeah, because the second time I thought I was misreading it, and I started second guessing myself. So when it was really more of a reading comprehension issue. I'm not a liar. I'm an idiot. I got called a liar in the opening for answering the same question differently, and then ultimately I got brave as the title for rescuing the guy in the bubble in the underwater scenario. Does this affect any of the stat growth or personality type like in Dragon Quest 3?
Yeah, it does. So there's 5 personalities. Each one promotes stat gains with each level. So Brave promotes attack. So you'll get a stat boost every level for that stat.
Cool. Does being called a liar demote you in any way?
No. There's nothing like that in this game. But which pet did you guys choose?
Sorry?
Cats or dogs?
Oh, I thought cats.
Cats. Yeah.
Okay, so
dogs is
in
the
your
correct
home,
answer.
dogs is not the correct answer. But in your home, that the animal there will be a cat or a dog, depending on what you chose. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, is your home like northeast of Laudatorn?
Yes.
That little house on the hill that's you. Okay, cool. So I just robbed myself.
You're just making a withdrawal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I love the scenarios. Gosh, what did I see? I had the desert a couple times. There was one with a pyramid that popped up a couple times. There's that underwater one I had like 3 or 4 times in a row. It just kept getting that. I didn't. Do the questions take you to different scenarios the way you answer questions, or is that random? What scenario you get?
It is influenced, but ultimately, after it does some calculations, and it will send you to whichever scenario has the most amount of a variable. So it'll do that in the background. So it's not completely random, but it's based off a little of your answers.
But I often think of this too, because I was in the underwater scenario, and there was the guy in the bubble, and then there was like a treasure chest and a couple other things. And I immediately went to the guy in the bubble to talk to him, and it said I rescued him. So I think that the game was interpreting me as saving the guy first rather than going for the treasure chest. But I now wonder what would have happened. Would that have affected my outcome if I had gone for the treasure chest first and said, screw the guy under the water?
That does, actually. So if you want to try it again, you can get a different personality, but doing different things in each scenario will change your personality.
Oh, I gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah, I definitely. I don't think I grabbed the guy in the bubble, but I did like the underwater one 3 times, and I grabbed is there an animal that's moving, or am I not thinking that? I did the treasure chest. I might have done the treasure chest even twice because, again, like you, I forgot. It was like an hour later, and I'm like, did I grab the treasure chest before? I don't know if I did. My favorite, and you called me out on it because you were looking at my save file I sent you, and I won't give it too much away. Like people play, but you got to pay attention to the lines of dialogue. There was one with the campfire, and somebody said something like, "My God, I've done this a dozen times already. Can you go do something?" And I was like, wait a minute, I can do that. Yeah, let me see what's going on here.
I was surprised.
That was funny to do.
You're the first person to do that. in testing. So yeah.
There was something like that at the beginning of Undertale. I remember that you could do, and my God, I think Undertale was kind of playing around with joking with the PlayStation achievements, and I was playing Undertale on my Vita, and I kept getting achievements for doing the same thing over and over. And I was just standing there hitting A, doing kind of like something like you had set up in that thing, and it was like, oh yeah, you get an achievement for this. Wow, you get another achievement. Whoa, holy cow, you really are going on. And I know it was just talking to people later, because I didn't really know much about Undertale until I started talking to other people about it, and they were like, oh yeah, that was just the developer, like they didn't really give two shits about PlayStation achievements, so they just made them all in one area and all just a joke.
That's all.
Like, oh, we got to have achievements. Cool. Here's what our achievements are for.
That's one way to do it. So.
Yep.
Opened a door. Achieved.
Pudding.
Platinum trophy.
There you go. The easy plat.
So, in my
grave.
oh yeah,
we found the. I mean, that's right there in front of you in the first town. But
that
nice
made me laugh.
there.
That made me laugh when I saw this. Particularly because his music is being used in the game.
Oh. Yeah, a disclaimer: no profit is being made from this game.
Yeah.
Zero.
Don't come back from the
zero.
Don't come back from the grave and
guy.
poor NightFly here.
So, in my DQ playing hubris, I got wiped twice in the opening of the game for not being leveled enough. The difficulty in this game is no joke. Like Drakis can poison you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Early on the so like it's tough. It is it's a tough difficulty spike in the beginning before you you might fall on your face a few times.
Yeah, the beginning is the most difficult part, but when you get going and start getting that gold and the weapons, you start getting a little more ballsy. So it picks up after that. So yeah,
definitely.
Oh yeah, my wipes came. The town with the keys, Rimdular, and again, I can't remember if you renamed all these, which ones you did and which one are different. But outside there, you start meeting the second level of the wizard, like the warlock one. Mm-hmm. And holy crap, man, they can whack you for like 50, 60 HP.
Oh yeah, that's actually. Yeah. I fixed that.
Oh man!
I was testing it again. I was like, oh no! I hope they didn't run into this warlock or this wizard.
Yes, and I had just upgraded. Because I had been all the way down south and fighting goldmen and everything, and I'm like, yeah. And with the double gold on, I think you get 500 gold from those with the on easy mode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm raking it in. I'm doing pretty good. I'm gonna go buy some stuff. And I just so happened to go back and I bought everything, and I'm like, okay, I still had a few thousand gold there. And I'm walking around just trying to maybe put another level on before I move over and to the next area. And I ran into one. I'm like, you loser! I can beat up goldmen in 3 hits. They're doing 5-10 damage to me, nothing much. Then it was spell, bam, sizzle. I think sizzle was the one that killed it.
Yeah,
toast.
Yeah. So that was a bug that came up after fixing another bug. So sorry you had to go through that, but
that's all right.
That's why use banks. Use the banks, folks.
Yep. Oh, I did. Let me tell you. After that, yeah, I got my 20 grand right now, and about 18,000 of it sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
I actually haven't used that yet. Do you have to have 1,000 increments, or can you do it lower than that?
You can do any amount.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
you got to pay to open an account, though. It's not free.
You do. Yeah. It's real
What's
life.
the interest rate like?
The interest rate is you die and you get to keep your money.
Oh,
right.
Okay. Well,
bonus.
Fair.
So, and I don't know why it's all my notes here are from the first hour, everything I found, and I definitely put 5 or 6 hours into the game that I finally ended up continuing after stopping and restarting a few times in the first 2 hours. But again, that was fun. It got me to see the scenarios, and I definitely learned some menu things there the hard way, but that was all right. But the Puff Puff, oh my God, that cracked me up. I was not expecting it. I guess I won't spoil this either, but I was not expecting where I woke up from the Puff Puff. That I was looking around. I'm like, holy shit, man, what are these sprites here?
Yeah, it's a little strange down there. So
yep. And then I woke up and met you because you were right next door.
Yeah.
Sitting,
Yeah.
sitting at the bar, sitting at the inn. Yep.
Got plenty of
This is
experience.
in Moira Town or
Yeah,
Myra.
Myra. Yeah.
Myra.
So, because your character like gave a hint when I first talked to him, and I think I've been back once or twice else. Does it give other hints the farther I go through the game?
No. So
Or
that's just
Okay.
one hint to on your records menu. There's 5 for now stars
Mhm.
that you can fill in. So that completes one of your star profile. So
Yeah, I did notice that. Interesting. Now I got to figure out where the other 4 are.
So I love the animated character art that you have in the status with the hero, the close up of the hero blinking. Was that similar in terms of setup for the animated monsters in terms of how you did that?
that was actually done around probably 2016, actually. So the way that works is totally different from the way the monster sprites work. It just shows an image after one another. So I took inspiration sort of from like Mega Man X. When you see X blinking on the status or whatever. So I wanted to do something like that for Hero. So
Cool. The other thing that I noticed as I was downloading it and unzipping everything was that it was 4,520 files to unpack. So, I mean, it's just it's a testament to the sheer amount of work that went into this.
Yeah, most of those are probably either images that are shown on the screen, like the menu windows and text and letters, and so a lot of that is the picture. So the game, and the file size is quite large too for something like this. Most of that file size is the music. So if you don't have a lot of it's all orchestrated. So if you don't have space for that, clear some room. But it's not that big, just a gigabyte. So
I was going to say, in the days of multiple terabyte drives, this is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
Is there controller support for this?
There is in the sense that I've tested it. So there's a plugin that I use to enable controller support. I don't know how well it works, but it works well for me. I can't speak to everybody, but it should work. There is controller support, so if there's any bugs or whatnot, contact me on the site or rpgmaker.net and I can see about it. But yeah, there is controller support.
Okay.
Yeah, I played with a controller, but I've got it's just a simple little USB plug-in controller. And years ago, what the heck I threw the developer like $5. It was a free something like key to controller, key to play, or something like that. Just a small app, and probably if this wasn't like a $5 USB junk controller, it might have been something that came with it. But I can go in and I can map the A button to this key and that to that. So yeah, I just went in and did that right away, and it saves profiles. So I look, and most of the Steam games that don't necessarily, and like I said, I'm using like a crap off-brand controller that I bought probably 12 years ago. So it's not exactly it didn't come with any software or anything. You just picked it up, plug it in, and hope it worked with Windows.
Yeah.
So I noticed a couple of different names for NPC characters that were obviously screen names. Are these shout outs to people that helped along the way from testing or anything?
Yeah. So from testers to actual staff of RPG Maker. So I just wanted to give them a little shout out for, helping along the way. These games, even though it's an RPG Maker game, they're not made easily if you want to do one right. So getting their help early on was essential to creating this the game the way it is now. So I just wanted to give them a little shout out there. So
nice,
awesome.
So when's the big release date?
As of now, the target date is the end of summer. Summer in September. Is it 20 something?
Yeah, I was going to say it's usually around the 21st, 22nd, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So
summer usually starts around June 20.
Yeah. So somewhere between today and then is when you'll get it. the internal date, the planned date is Friday, September 1st. If all things go well, so I'm moving to complete that and get it out by then. But it may be pushed back a week or two. But it will be released by the end of summer, as I said. So
That's all right. I mean, gosh, just in recent news, I know Pendy's looking forward to this game, and I was for a while until I read how long the damn thing was. But WrestleQuest is a pixelated RPG with like Randy Macho Man Savage and a whole wrestling crew in it coming out soon. And yeah, they postponed from April to August, and then just recently during during game review times, a huge bug was found, so they suddenly had to push it back. I was going to say it was going to be early August, and now it's going to be late August. So hey, man, it happens to everybody that you don't know what's going to pop up until it pops up. So
yep,
I think having the next month, as a big target with the center of that's decent.
Yeah, the game was planned for earlier this year actually, but bugs just kept coming up. I keep fixing them and they keep popping up, and that's how it goes. So just trying to get to a point where none of the bugs are devastating like that wizard glitch. So I think we're
that wasn't pretty... too I had a worse one when I played, so
oh yeah I told you about that one.
Yeah, and you fixed my save file, so thank you. So
yeah.
Yep, I ran into that, but no, yeah, the wizard. That was just what did Liam you say? Use the word hubris. That was me walking around with a little too much gold in my pocket and thinking that my new armor would be stopping fireballs, but oopsies. Good to know that it should have, but it wasn't that devastating.
Okay.
So, what will you do after it's released?
Well, for people who end up playing this game, there is a letter from the developer in the game as one of the final items you get. It goes over some of this, but I do not plan on making anything else for a while. I want to get this thing out and not think about it. As much as I love working on it and playing it and seeing other people enjoy it, I kind of don't want to see it again for a long time. But my career path took me in a direction of 3D animation and modeling and rendering. So I would like to explore a way to combine that with storytelling and games. And I think I have something interesting to put out there, but I'm not going to say much more on that because I do think it's a fresh idea. So if you want to follow me, NightFly on everything. So just in case you want to, follow me after this, you don't have to. I'm not saying you have to. It's just a little heads up. So something in animation mixed with gaming. So
cool.
Yeah. So are you on the X?
I am on the X. I'm on the X, I guess.
That meant something different in the 90s.
Still does.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get your account there, and anything else you want to send us to throw in the show notes, because I've got a link to obviously your game page, the Dragon Quest Plus development page over on rpgmaker.net there. But if you want to give us any of your social stuff, I'll just drop it in the Skype chat, and we'll throw it in the show notes for you. Yeah. So I guess before we do the outro conclusion here, is there anything else you want to tell us about this game? Like, is there anything we didn't ask that you want to talk about, go over?
I would just say if you were into Dragon Quest, if you've ever played any of them, I recommend giving this game a try. And I recommend playing through the post game. I know a lot of games, you play the main game and you're like, I'm done. But even with games like Dragon Quest 11, where the post game is basically the main game, it's post games can offer a lot of content that you wouldn't get otherwise. So I recommend going through the post game. It's quite lengthy, I would say about maybe 5 to 6 hours. So please play through that. See it to the end.
Yeah, I know. I keep running into things as you're walking around. You've got a lot of little things between the towns to stop at, and it just even the townsfolk they're like, oh, what's this going on over there or something like that. And so I've kind of got a couple notes of where what I need to go check out. I'm like, this must open up post game. This must open up post game.
Yeah,
found a tower down south. I'm like, I can't get in there right now.
Well, I think I saw the portal from the upper world from Dragon Quest III that you use to get to a left guard in the second half of DQ3. But I thought that was pretty cool that you added that in there. My one bone to pick though is the wizard that you normally go to in the main castle. He's supposed to refill your MP, and that's what I use to never stay in an inn. But
I know.
he doesn't do that in this game. And now I can't exploit that.
How are you not living with apples, man? You got to stay at the inn.
Yeah.
I do.
An apple.
The apples are a nice touch. I like getting free stuff, but at the same time, I also like getting free MP.
Which is what the apples do.
Yeah,
Apple.
that's a lot of apples.
2 MP per apple. Come on.
Yeah.
It's my only bone to pick.
I did notice that even in easy mode, I was like, oh man, that's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's like the cocktail peanuts on a airplane flight. They're not going to kill you up or anything, but what a nice gesture.
So wait, what inspired the apples?
Actually, there was a time in my life where we were essentially living in hotels. So I always got joy out of waking up and going to the breakfast section and getting something and then heading out. So that came from out of nowhere. I don't know why I put that. I guess why that memory came to me. So I just thought it would be fun to put in. So that's why the apples are in here.
Well, nice. The hero will never need to go to a dentist.
Never.
Apples.
or a doctor.
Not even a doctor. Yes. Or a doctor. Yeah, the apple day keeps the doctor away, man. All right. Well, we've come here to the end of our Dragon Quest Plus hype episode. Thank you, NightFly, for joining us and for developing this awesome version of the original Dragon Quest. I am not someone to do PC gaming, and even when I review for RP Gamer, it's like once every other year, or maybe every 2 years or 3 years, should I say, that I've actually taken a game on the PC. And I took one this year, and I was like, oh man, wait, I'm supposed to, because we had talked months and months ago about doing this. I was like, oh man, I got to sit on the PC and actually play a game. And I think that when I finally sat down, and you sent us the files earlier this month, and I sat down that first night, and like I said, I restarted like 3 or 4 times. And by the end of the night, I was like, oh man, this was a cool intro, but I've only put like an hour into it. Then the next day, I know I was bombarding you with messages. I just sat and played for like 4 or 5 hours straight. Wife and kids were doing all this other stuff, and my kids would keep coming in, and they're like, oh, you're playing Dragon Quest. I'm like, yep. I mean, they don't know the difference from... I've not been as good a father as Liam, sitting down and making them play the original versions in their original state. So they just generically knew it as, oh, you're playing Dragon Quest. We see the slimes, we see the whatever, and it's funny because my oldest son, the only game he's played through is Dragon Quest Monsters 2, the remake. I hacked his 3DS too, and he sunk 70-80 hours into it as an 8-year-old, and they love Dragon Quest. They'll sit and make Perler Bead Dragon Quest stuff forever and play as the hero in Super Smash Brother and all this stuff, but actually sitting and playing the games, they're not into that at this point. But 7 and 10, they got plenty of life ahead of them to do more Dragon Quest. And but I mean, I devoured that game and got all the way up to the final castle. Like I said, I swear it was more like locked up over like, what do I spend my 20 grand of gold on than anything else?
Yeah. Well, what I liked about it as well is
I did not expect.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I did not expect that sort of response from the testers. So one of the testers, as I told you, Platty and Liam, I gave him the game. The next day, he comes back with a 12-hour save file. And I'm like,
Damn.
did you sleep? Did you sleep? Did you so I'm glad it's to the point where people are able to play for hours on end. That's a good thing for me to hear. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked how authentic the experience. It really felt like you're playing an official Dragon Quest game. So that's something that really stuck out for me. And I'm not much of a PC gamer either. I came back to consoles a long time ago and never left. So being able to play this and have it feel like a console game is pretty amazing. So I did want to say thank you for the nostalgic tour down memory lane.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you guys for playing it. Makes me happy.
I'll always remember this as the game that I was sitting in when my desk chair 15 years broke and almost got knocked out.
You fell out of your chair?
Leaning back. Oh no, the chair like cracked. Like a lot of desk chairs have like 5 wheels on them, and I was leaning back, and I was in the middle of my 5-hour playthrough that Saturday, and I think my wife had come in the room, and I'm leaning back, got my feet up on the desk, and playing with my controller. She's like, "You still playing that?" Yeah, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's really fun. Like I've had a good time," and like there was a cracking sound, and I was like, "Huh." She's like, "What was that?" I'm like, "I don't know. Maybe I whacked the with that little lever that goes up and down. Sometimes I get stuck." And but within like 10 seconds, I completely fell backwards. Like literally, the plastic on the legs, on 2 of the legs, just snapped and jammed my shoulder into the corner of the bed. I was like, "Gosh, 2 inches over, I would have been whacking the back of my head pretty good." But that might be 5 minutes of the 4-hour plus playtime that I sent you when I had that file that day was spent like, oh well, that desk chair is truly it's a goner. Like I'm gonna put that in the trash can.
Yeah.
Pull
The
an
last
extra
thing
desk
you
chair
heard-
out and thing out.
Last thing you heard before you passed out was dun 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 dun.
All right, NightFly, thanks for coming here.
Definitely.
Guys, it was a pleasure being here. Thank you guys for such a warm welcome, and once again, thank you for bringing me on.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Slime Time. And as I like to remind people often, we don't crowdsource or dynamically insert ads that you don't give 2 shits about. We're just all grown-ass adults here that like to talk or make games. And we don't need a dime of your money to do so. If you'd really like to contribute to the DQ fandom, feel free to head over to the Dragon's Den, donate some money to Woodus. Without him, without fans like Hawkeye out there making his game, we wouldn't get to do this podcast. We wouldn't get NightFly on here had made his game, and a bunch of us fans met up through Woodus and his site. So he's paid to keep those lights on for decades. And for goodness sake, when it comes out in a few weeks, play NightFly's Dragon Quest Plus. Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun. I look forward to sinking more hours into it. I think I'm about 12 hours in already. A couple of those hours were wipes. But it's definitely something I'm looking to dig in deeper, and I'm excited to hear that there's actual post game. This is the first time I've experienced the original Dragon Quest game with post game in it, so that'll be a lot of fun. Thanks to our graphic artist Delicious Dwayne Bullock for doing our logo, and Amanda Lepre and the Descendants of Erdrick for permission to use their music. Bye, everybody. This is Dragon Quest Slime Time, sliming off.